Hi grade 9s, here's the third and final video for Unit 5, Day 3. Here we're looking at finding the equation of the line if we're given 2 points. Now remember from the last two videos, there's 3 steps. The first step is to find the slope. The second step is to find the y-intercept. And the third step is to write the equation. I wrote find here. It all feels like finding stuff. So in the last video, we had how to find the equation given slope and a point. So that first step was really trivial. We just said, oh, it tells me the slope right in the equation. In these ones, it doesn't tell us the slope. So for A, it says determine the equation of the line that passes through the points -6, -2, and 4, 3. So here, it doesn't tell us anything about the slope. We're going to have to calculate it. The next 2 steps, though, will be exactly the same as in the last examples from the previous video. So our first step is to find the slope. So we're going to find the slope here. We're going to use the slope formula. So remember from the previous lesson, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that's a representation of our rise over run. I find it helpful for most people to label these x1, y1, x2, y2 on the actual paper where you're doing your question. So my first point is here, -6, -2. I'm going to label that x1 because the -6 is the x value, and y1 because the -2 is the y value, and that's our first point. Then the point 4, 3, that's going to be x2 because that 4 is my x value, and y2 because the 3 is my y value, and those are the second points. So it's a little squished in there for that second one. So I'm going to just make sure I get the right thing. So I have to do y2 minus y1. So I have 3 minus -2. Now when people are doing slope, I would say this is the number one mistake that I see, is to miss that double negative. So if you have 3 minus -2, that's actually going to be like a +2. So you have to be really careful with that one. And then x2 minus x1. So 4 minus -6. Very similar there. So 3 minus -2 is 5. Careful with that double negative. And 4 minus -6 is 10. And then we want to write that slope as a fraction in lowest terms. So it's 1/2. Your next step is to find your y-intercept. And this step is going to be the same here as it was in the previous questions. So we're going to find the y-intercept using the y equals mx plus b. We will have the slope is 1/2. So 1/2 x plus b. Here is where we substituted in an x and a y value. And sometimes people feel like it's a little bit trickier in this one because I've got 2 x values and 2 y values. I have 2 different points. It doesn't matter which ones you use as long as you pick the x and the y from the same point. I can't pick the x from over here and the y from over here. As long as I pick the x and y from the same point, it doesn't matter which one you use. You should get the same b value either way. I think most people would be happier picking the positive one. So I'm going to pick x is 4 and y is 3. So I'll say 3 equals 1/2 times 4 plus b. 3 equals, so 1/2 times 4 over 1 is 4 over 2, which is just 2. Plus b. If you showed the steps there with fractions, that's fine. I'm just skipping that step. And then bringing the 2 over and subtracting to solve for b. So b equals 1. You can see it's very similar to what we did in the last examples. And then our last step is to write out the equation. So remember, x and y stay as variables here. My slope is 1/2 and my y-intercept is 1. So this equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 1. For part B, same idea. We're going to have to find the slope using our slope formula. So it says determine the equation of the line that passes through the point 4, 6 and has an x-intercept, of -4. So I feel like I'm okay to say that that's x1, y1, but this one's not written as a point. Remember what you know about an x-intercept and write that as a point. So we know that at the x-intercept, the y value is 0. So I'm going to put a 0 for my y value. And the x value, it tells me the x value is -4. So I can use this. You sometimes aren't given your point written out like a point. It might be an intercept. And that's my x2 and y2. So here we're going to have y2 minus y1, so 0 minus 6 over x2 minus x1, -4 minus 4. So in this case, I end up with -6 on top over -4 minus 4 more is -8. Remember that 2 negatives in a fraction make that fraction positive overall, and I'm going to reduce this fraction by dividing the 6 and 8 by 2, and I get +3 over 4. So that's my slope for this equation of this line. Now I need to find my b. So I'm going to write out the equation, y equals mx plus b to start. And my slope is 3 over 4. And remember, you can choose either one of these 2 points to put in. I might pick this one because I feel like the 0 maybe makes it a little bit easier. So y is 0 and x is -4. Okay, I'm going to put that -4 over 1. And maybe this one I will show the step. Here, -3 times -4 is -12 over 4 plus b. If you like to show out your steps with the fractions, that's fine too. And -12 over 4 is -3 plus b. So bringing this one over, we have 0 plus 3 equals b, or b equals 3. So I've got my m value, I've got my b value, and the last step is just to write the equation. So I know I have y equals m is 3 over 4. Keep that x there. That's a common one for people to somehow just forget to write the x. I think you're so kind of wrapped up in find your m and find your b. And then plus 3 because my y-intercept is 3. That's it.